Tour performance has always been almost the benchmark of does a driver work or does it not work. And that was one of the key milestones we had, was making sure all of our tour players are performing and outperforming their current gamers with our new product. So the tour really was what triggered the entire speed project with us. For the last number of years, Mizuno's been on a project to improve and speed up and really build a technology platform around our drivers. So the last couple of years, you've seen the ST-190, the ST-230, the ST-ZNX, and then the ST-ZNX 220. In each of these iterations, we were getting faster and then more forgiving, then faster, then more forgiving. All of this was kind of building a foundation for where we were ultimately trying to get, to have just a platform of drivers that had a lot of performance. But ultimately, we were working on technologies in the background to add to this to make sure that we are going to have the highest performing product in the market. For a while, it was acceptable for a Mizuno player to not play our driver. A number of years ago, we kind of changed that. We decided, you know what? We need full commitment from our team, from our R&D team, from our tour players to be part of that Mizuno brand. So by making it a requirement for our players to play the driver, it actually closed the loop a little bit. It brought the players into the discussion with the R&D team to make sure that we're delivering the best product. With a tour player, the first step is the eye test. It has to look the part, they have to feel comfortable with it. Next, if the numbers justify an increase in performance, then you've got gold. Honestly, the last thing a tour player wants when you hand them a new product is to look down and be uncomfortable with it. Something that's totally unique and totally different to their eye. They've built their reputation on hitting quality, repeatable shots with a product they know and love. So when we delivered the ST-230 products, we brought a similar look, but a new level of performance. So it's fun when you hand somebody a driver for the first time, what they look at. They're always wanting something, they're wanting new performance, but they're also wanting something that's comfortable. The first thing you notice when you look at the 230 woods is the sole side. The CORTECH Chamber's got a new, different look to it, and it's eye-catching. It's the first thing you see, and it's clearly something different than we've had before. Then you put it down in a dress, and there's a comfort level there. So those two things combined, it's like, wow, this can do something different, but wait, I'm kind of comfortable with it. So it's been a really nice transition to not really scaring people away and getting them open to the new performance of this. So there's two ways to talk about the CORTECH Chamber. The first is physically, what is it? But then to understand what it does is a whole nother step. I'll start by talking about what is the CORTECH Chamber. If you look at the sole side, you can see this blue TPU material, and actually inside this is an embedded stainless steel weight. It's concentrated at the front of a golf club, and it actually cuts all the way through the club. That's physically what it is. Now, to understand what that does, that really gets your excitement level going. What it does, physically, this cuts all the way through the club. So through the sole, there's a complete opening here. The idea behind that, the initial thing, is it's going to remove stress from the face. When you remove stress from the face, you're allowed to get a bigger flex. You get more, essentially a larger trampoline. Larger trampoline equals better ball speed. That's the first thing it does. But on top of that, there's other benefits as well. Because of the TPU material that we chose, and by embedding that stainless steel weight in there, you actually get a little bit of extra energy added to the ball. So not only do you have that trampoline larger, but that stainless steel weight is going to concentrate mass low and forward to lower that sweet spot, to lower that spin. And also how it compresses into that TPU, and the decompression of the TPU actually helps generate extra speed and extra power to the golf ball. Yeah, so my natural shape is relatively straight. I'd say if anything, if there's one thing I'd struggle with, I struggle a miss that kind of falls to the right. I don't quite get around on it, so I don't quite get there. And at times I could struggle with a miss to the right. So with that, it's really interesting. Like, I'm gonna hit the Z now. I wanna hit the X also, because that's one that should actually help eliminate that ever so slightly. But let's see how they go. So that was a pretty good swing there. That's kind of what I like to see the ball do. Started high, not a lot of spin, relatively straight, got around on it, it turned over pretty easily. Like, I was able to do what I wanted to with that one. Same time, it didn't have much motion on it. I've been working on trying to gain a little speed. I think the whole golf industry has lately. Everybody's trying to get a little bit faster. So, but any bit of distance you can get from the technology is a great thing. We've seen a jump of about 1 mile an hour to 2 miles an hour with almost everybody we've tested with. CORTECH Chamber, the thinner face, everything we've done, you're just naturally seeing that. The reduction of spin is also a part of that as well. When you can bring spin down, that's more energy going out versus towards spin. So that's a good ball. If anything, it's got a little bit of a tail on it. It falls just a little bit to the right. That's one thing that, again, if I'm not quite completing my swing, if I'm not playing a ton and not, comfortable to really release through, that's the one thing I struggle with, is the face hangs a little bit open and falls a touch to the right. So when I'm playing my best, the Z is really good because it tracks. I can turn it over as much, it's not gonna go left. When I'm not playing as much, or I don't feel like I'm quite as loose, I'm actually gonna swing a couple with that X to see if it helps straighten that out. I've played around a little bit in testing with the X. I've never actually taken it to the course. I've always been an STZ guy just for that stability. It's a little bit chillier out here right now. It's a little bit, we're in the winter season where I'm not playing quite as much. And that's where that miss to the right actually tends to show its head a little bit more. So I'm really interested in trying the STX right now because I think it could be a really good addition. So my ball speed, I'm usually in the kind of high 150s for ball speed. I've touched 160, kind of right in there. Typically I'll live a little bit below that, in that mid 150s to high 150s range. So when I look at my ball speed, I'd say for an amateur player, I'm on the higher side. I'm not crazy high by any means, but high 150s, it's on the faster side of things. When I look at myself compared to like some of the Mizuno staffers, I'm slow. We got a lot of fast players on staff. We've seen ball speeds. Keith Mitchell's in the 180s. Marco Pinge gets 180s. He might even be able to touch 190. So we've seen some crazy numbers for players. And that's where having the ability to have multiple heads, different spin rate options, lots of loft options, and the adjustable sleeve, all of those things together help us dial in for whatever spin rate you have. So an interesting one, one of our longest Mizuno players and someone who I've gotten to work with for a number of years is Luke Donald. He's almost gotten the reputation of being a short golfer. Short as in doesn't hit it that far, ball speed's not that great, not a great driver of the ball. You should see him right now. His speed has gotten faster and faster throughout the years. So I'm in the I'd call it mid to high 150s in terms of ball speed. He blows it by me by a lot. So if, as an amateur player, I'm decent in terms of distance. I get it out there okay. Luke's another level, man. When he hits it, it's way longer. The jump in speed we've seen from Luke, that's kind of both. It's part him and it's part equipment as well. So he's made a commitment to getting a little bit longer. He's been working on that for a number of years and he's doing it. He's hitting the ball longer than he ever has. The equipment's helping as well because we can get it dialed in for the right spin rates also. So my last shot I hit and the last couple I hit have kind of fallen to the right a touch. I've switched from the STZ to the STX. When it's a little bit chillier out, it gets a little bit tougher for me to kind of release through and make sure I'm getting all the way through. So with the STX head, it's actually a slightly shorter CG to shaft axis. What that means is it's easier for me to control the club. So I'm gonna hit one here and see if I can't turn it over a little bit more. That's what I wanted it to do. The last couple I had hit had all fallen out to the right. With the STX, just one swing, I was able to turn it over a touch more. The weighting of this club is a little bit different than the weighting of the STZ. And with that in mind, it's easier for the player to control it. It's easier to manipulate the head. And to me, it was easier to hit that slight draw shot that I was struggling with before. When I look at it at address, there's a difference, but it's subtle. I mean, obviously, I've been looking at golf clubs a lot. I've got an eye that can see some things. To me, it's a little bit shorter from heel to toe, a little bit shorter from front to back, and a little bit deeper face. I know some players prefer that deeper face design. To me, it looks like I can do more with it. Like, the look speaks to the weighting as well, the performance. So with this, I feel like I could turn it over. I feel like I could do more with it. With that STZ, it just looks like it wants to track straight down the line. One of the things with Mizuno is we're always a little bit, I'd almost say, timid to show off technology. So when you look at our woods, you almost start to say, well, there's a lot of classic in there. And you see it almost goes back to our irons. There's not a lot jumping at you, not a lot in your face. These are a little bit different because the CORTECH Chamber is so visual. It is something that jumps out. So it's almost like for Mizuno to put something so aggressive on it, there's a level of trust built into that because of the look we deliver with all of our products.